That's so scary. And we are live.
They've won Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Grammys. There's no red carpet because they're home in their jammies. From Melrose Place to Broadway to Janeway and her crew. Let Seth and James bring all the stars to you.
Anywho,
they're entertaining everyone, so who's gonna grouse? Just sit right back and you'll hear some tales on Stars in the House.
So good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stars in the House Special Skills Edition. I am Anika Larsen. I am your guest host for the evening. Seth and James are frolicking in Italy on a Broadway cruise, and I'm not jealous at all. Tonight, we're going to have more fun than they are because tonight we are talking about special skills. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, every actor at the bottom of their resume, there's a section where you're expected to list your special skills. They can be anything sort of unusual or like particularly valuable to a production that they maybe even haven't occurred to them yet. Like if you play an instrument or if you do certain accents or impersonations, for some reason, as David and I were saying earlier, for some reason, having a driver's license is often on people's list of special skills. I couldn't remember what was on my resume at the bottom of my resume. So this morning I went and looked, and under my special skills, it says roller skating, puppetry, both of which we will discuss tonight. In fact, if you stick around to the end, Barrett Foa and I are going to run you through a quick and dirty puppetry boot camp, a la the boot camp you have to go through to get to final callbacks of Avenue Q. So that'll be fun. And then I have knitting, which doesn't seem like a special skill, except that once you start to notice this, it gets very annoying. But I have in so many plays, movies, TV shows, I have watched people, and clearly the script says that they're knitting, they have to be a knitter, and they clearly learned to knit 2 weeks ago. And so I am hoping one day that I will be able to be in a show and I will knit like an authentic knitter while I'm a part of the conversation, the scene, that will make my knitting dreams come true. And then the last thing on my list of special skills, I have to take it off. It says I can walk on my hands, which I can do. I took gymnastics for 12 years when I was little, and I was not good at it. But the one thing I sort of had a knack for was walking on my hands. And I got to tell you guys, that has been at the bottom of my resume for over 25 years. And in 25 years of auditions, like hundreds, maybe thousands of auditions, never once in 25 years has somebody been looking at my resume and said, "Oh, you can walk on your hands? Do it." No one's ever said do it. And now it's too late because it's coming off my resume because actually a couple of weeks ago I tried. I hadn't done it in a couple of years and I thought, do I still got it? I sort of still got it. I can do it. But when I stood up again, like cartoon style stars were all around my head. And so I don't think I can still do it, but I don't think I should still do it. So it's coming off my resume. Okay, so we actors all have the special skills that we bring with us in our sort of tool belt. And then every once in a while, you get this opportunity to learn a new special skill for your job, this very cool thing where you get paid to learn some crazy new thing. I got to learn sword fighting once. I got to learn capoeira, which is like a Brazilian martial arts / dance, which if you don't know what it is, you could fall down the YouTube rabbit hole for like a couple of hours watching it. It's stunning and you'd be glad you did. I had to do a Maggie Smith impersonation for Xanadu. So I recorded all of her lines in Sister Act in a row. And then I just listened to it over and over and over again and copied and copied and copied. And secretly I thought I got to the point where I thought I was nailing it. And then I watched a bootleg of Xanadu for today's show. And it did not sound as good as it sounded in my head. So that's embarrassing. Okay. But before we bring out our first guest, I do want to talk about why we're here tonight, which is to raise money for the Actors Fund. The Actors Fund is an organization not just for actors, it's for anyone who's able to make a living in the show business. So, and not just in New York City, all across the country. It's people who do ballet, people who do symphonies, it's performers, yes, but it's also crew, it's musicians, it's front of house, it's box office, it's anyone who can say they make a living doing some aspect of show business, film stuff. And of course, we've all been so hit hard by COVID. I mean, it's been sort of devastating. And so the Actors Fund, as they always do, has come in to help, and not only helped people financially, but they've always been there with resources, just incredible resources. They'll help you get mental help. They'll help you. I have a really dear friend who, about a year into COVID, just didn't know what, oh, thank you for that, David, didn't know what to do about health insurance. She'd been able to cobble together health insurance through our union for so long. And then suddenly it was going to end and she didn't know what to do. Oh, thank you, David. They're just so amazing. And she called me and she started to cry, telling me about this amazing conversation she had with a guy over at the Actors Fund who just talked her through all of her options. We all know how scary it is, healthcare, and how hard it is to understand. And so they were there for her, and they're there for so many of us, and we're so grateful to them. So it's sort of the least any of us can do to come on out here and try and raise a little money. So it is unbelievable to say this, but thanks to Seth and James and David and everybody who's taken part in this show, they have, since the beginning of the pandemic, since March of 2020, they have raised $1,151,650. You guys, and most of that has been through like $20 here, $20 there, because we know most of you guys watching are repeat watchers. You're the Sith core family, and you know, not everybody has a whole lot of money to throw around these days. So we hope, we wish that if we entertain you at all tonight and you feel like you can spare even just a little bit of money, no amount is too small. Oh, yay, there's James. Anika, you're an amazing host. Thank you. We're in Lisbon. Oh, Portugal now. Oh, that's fun. But anything you can send would be wonderful. And if you send it, this is the fun part. If you send it with a message, forward the receipt for your donation to that email address you see right there, donations@starsinthehouse.com. We will read it for you, and not just read it for you, but I will have my guests tonight read it for you in some kind of accent or impersonation, because why not? Special skills, baby. So yes, so please, 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 if you can give, thank you so much. If not, sit back and enjoy. All right. Our first guest tonight, you've seen him on Broadway in Memphis, Hamilton, Chicago, and of course, he won a Tony for playing the genie in Aladdin. He is James Monroe Iglehart.
Hello, what's happening, sis?
How are you?
I'm doing very well. That was cool. You're a great host.
Am I? Thanks.
Yes, you're very good.
You know what? It can replace walking on my hands under my special skills.
I don't know if you should take that off. I don't know. I don't know if you should take that off. I think you should leave it on because, I mean, as a mom, that is going to be some real cool stuff, like distract the child and do something really, really crazy. And it's like, look over here, look what mommy can do. Like, oh my gosh, she can do that. That's you might want to keep that on.
You're telling me to double down on it.
Yeah, double down on it. Yes.
Just get the skill back.
Cool. Right. Now, don't ask them to do it, because if they break their arm, you got to go to the hospital. There's a whole different.
That's true. And then I'm calling you.
You're right. Now I'll be like, I'll drive, I guess.
Do you have a driver's license? Is that on your special?
Yes. Oh gosh, yes. Especially because I'm from California, so having a driver's license was definitely needed, because you never know. You know, you all, especially as a dude. Forgive me, this is so sexist, but as a dude, you just imagine that someone's going to cast you for the next Fast and the Furious. And then when you're in an Uber in the back, you're like, he's driving too fast. He's driving too fast.
So wait, so what is on your special skills?
Oh gosh, I am so scared to tell you, because half of those things I probably can't even do anymore. It was, of course, freestyle rapping, because that's was the one thing I really, really concentrated on. And I did impressions, or at the time, now that I do voiceover, I did impressions of James Earl Jones. I did impressions of Anita Baker. I did impressions of Sade, which is Sade Anita Baker, pretty much the same thing. I had swimming on there. I had stage combat on there, and I forgot, I think I had something silly like silence, like like I could be quiet for a long time, which is absolute BS. I could not. But it was just fun to say.
That is fun. Okay, so we've actually already got a donation, and since you just told us that you do James Earl Jones or Anita Baker or Sade, you pick which one of them, and can you look in the private chat, and can you read that, please, as one or all of them, if you want to.
Let's see. I'll say it's James Earl Jones.
There we go.
Hello, Anika. Thank you for stepping in for the host while Seth and James get such a well-earned rest. I had decided to donate because if I didn't donate on the night Patty Murin is on the show, I think the Sith Core family would disown me. David B., $50.
And you thought you were off the hook, but another beautiful. Another one just came in, and now you have to do that as Anita Baker.
There's no problem. So they usually with Anita, there's like a drum solo. It's like bam ticka ticka bam 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 bam. So happy to donate 2 stars in the house. They are just fun for my Sith Core fam, Seth and James, the stars in the house crew, and tonight's fabulous host Anika and all the guests. You're all my happy place. Scott in Kansas City, $25.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, James. Thank you, James, for letting us put you on the spot. He was not warned.
Please, not a problem.
Okay, so you said freestyle rapping. I didn't know you had experience with that. That this has been a thing in your life for a long time, because this is why I wanted to come on.
Yeah, I actually. What's funny is most people think that the brothers I shouldn't say the brothers anymore. The family of Freestyle Supreme began to do this just when we were in the group. No, most of us have been doing it all of our lives. There are a few people who joined the school to just get better at it, but most of us have been doing it since we were kids. I started freestyling when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, but so this is the thing. So, because I have loved freestyle, like since I think it's been, how long has it been? Because I feel like I was going to see them in little clubs like 15, maybe 15 years ago.
It's about 16 years, 16, 17 years. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. And so, and I am every time filled with terror for you guys, because it is I am such a planner, and I am so OCD, and I choreograph my riffs, and then I do them that way 8 times a week, and I never vary from it. And the idea of being put on the spot to even just do improv comedy, quite frankly, I've always thought I should take the class, I should do it. And then I never do, because I'm too chicken shit, quite frankly.
No, you would have a ball.
But then to be expected to rhyme it in the moment, I don't understand. How does that? I don't understand.
It really is. I wish I could explain it the way Anthony does. Anthony has a very scientific way of explaining it, but there's a part of your brain. I can't think of what the word is. We just did something today at this corporate gig. There's a part of your brain that is the voice that basically tells you, the judging voice. There's a judging voice inside you that says all the things that you shouldn't do. And it's usually either the voice of your parent or the voice of someone that is in your life that has judged you. And that all of a sudden that becomes that voice. And that voice tells you, it's actually a little bit like middle side of your brain that tells you, don't do this, don't do that. It's the flight or flight one. It's the, if you do that, someone will look at you. Oh my God, what shirt am I wearing today? We don't. And then there's another part of your brain that basically kind of it's that moment where you're dreaming. It's that free moment that kind of like lets you just go. It's that moment of euphoria that goes, okay, do anything. It's okay. What you have to do is learn to kind of shut that part down, the negative part down, let the positive voice come up so that you're free to just go and do whatever needs to be done regardless. There is no wrong. And that's what the other voice says, there is a wrong. I know there's a wrong. There's a price to pay. There's always consequences. And there's another voice that goes, no, there's no consequences. We're in a safe place. Go ahead. And so you have to kind of tap into that moment to say, shut the other brain off, at least physically tell it, shut up, and then kind of go forward and let yourself be free to mess up, or what you consider mess up, because it really is not. It's really just experimenting and trying things. And for me, it just happens to be in rhythm and happens to be in rhyme.
It's lovely, because everything you just said is actually just how we should live every day, right?
Yeah,
You're talking
basically.
about freestyling, but it's not. It's life. If we just all could shut that part of our brain down and allow this part of the brain, we'd all be so much happier.
Yeah.
It makes me think with my 6-year-old because he lives on this side. I don't know which side it is, but
That-
he doesn't listen to the negative side of him. Boy, is he happier.
Well, so it's funny. There's a I don't know the study, but there's a study where kids don't know about that side of the brain. That's why people always say that side of the brain usually has your parents' voice on it. And it's very true. Yes, Robin Williams must have. He definitely had that type of the brain. He kind of let it go. And most people who are in the arts, that part is a little stronger because there's an ego there that says, I must do this. It's that feeling most actors know you're about to go on, and there's that fight or flight that goes, no, don't go out there. But that ego goes, no, we must go out there. And then you go, the light turns on, and you just live your life. So I think most kids don't have that.
I always say we're the most terrified / arrogant people, like insecure, arrogant, terrified, fearless, all at once to be able to do the things that we do, which is, I think, what makes us great, right? Like keeps us on our game, but also makes it sometimes, yes, terrifying.
Yeah.
So that it is about, I agree that like, it's gotta be about that, like being able to get to whatever kind of a Zen sort of place that allows you that freedom. But then there also it is a skill, and it is something.
Yes, it is something you do practice. I do practice all the time. Yes.
And then you guys rehearse. I didn't realize that. I felt like
yes.
an idiot.
Yeah.
I was like rehearsing to improv, but of course you rehearse.
Oh yeah, we rehearse our show constantly. That was us. If you look at the screen, that's us with Josh Groban just 2 weeks ago at Radio City Music Hall. That's Anissa, myself, and Kayla and Anthony.
What did he do? Did he perform with you?
Oh yes, Groban, the Grobes performs with us, and it's really, really fun. We usually do this game called A Love Supreme, where we'll find a couple and we'll ask them questions about their relationship. We'll ask each of them 2 things they love about each other and 1 thing if they could change, what would it be? And then Groban and I will usually do a hook, and Groban is very good at making up hooks on the spot. So we sing a nice little R&B tune, and then the rappers rap about their love. It's really, really
fun. Amazing. So what are rehearsals like then?
Actually, rehearsals are not as free as you think. What happens is we have certain ways we play a game, so we'll play
because that's the structure for people who haven't seen it, that there is an actual structure to it, and there's a
structure to our show, and we have certain games. We have mini games. We have certain games we play. We try to play at least 4 or 5 a night, and one of the games is a game called What Y'all Know, and so basically it's what y'all know about, and we'll pick a time in history, a type of music, or a person. So a person, place, or thing. And we'll rap about those things. And so what we'll do is we'll look at the person that's in, like I look at you, Anika, and go, okay, which one do you want to take? And you can say, I want to take history. And they'll go, okay.
None.
Like, I'll take the history of standing on your hands. And well, okay, cool. And we'll throw it to you. You'll rap about that. Or we'll have one of our games, which we call a pet peeves. And it's taking something that the audience doesn't like and rapping about that subject. If someone will play with rapping directly about that subject or flipping it on its head. For example, we were doing a show and some woman threw out the word period. And it was 2 ladies and 2 guys, and Jelly Donut, Andrew Bancroft, took the word period, and we went, oh boy, here we go. And we just knew we were going to get reamed because, nowadays, a man rapping about what a woman's feeling about, and he turned it on its head. And when it came down for his time to rap, he rapped about the fact that you think I'm going to rap about something, and began to rap about punctuation and how people who do text messages and social media have no idea where the period goes because they all just have run-on sentences. And then at the end, he brought it back to, and you thought I was going to talk about menstruation, which was and the audience just lost their mind. So it really is, our rehearsals are really about expanding our minds so that we can show the audience that we know what to say and what we're going to talk about, but also we can turn it on its head and be, in a clever way, still entertain you without you knowing where we're going to go.
I'm curious. So, what percentage of the time would you say you feel great about? Like, do you have a wide range of like feeling great about shows and feeling badly about you? I know I would kick myself for weeks after about like, I could have said this, that would have been so much funnier, that would have rhymed better. Do you kick yourself and then?
No, I shouldn't say no. I will say there are times where everybody has a show that you wish could have been better than what you did. But most of the time, because it's improv, because it's freestyle, you have to let it go. Once it's out there, and there's nothing you can do. So
Yeah.
whatever was supposed to come out came out. You can't go, oh, if I'd have said this, it'd have been so much better. Because yes, but you would have also thought about it, written it down. It's not the essence of the show. So
Yeah.
you got to let it go. I mean, there are moments where I think for us, our group, we have to listen. We can only get down on each other if we don't listen to each other.
Yeah.
If we go too fast, if we're not listening to the audience member, if we're not listening to each other, if we're not paying attention, that is when we get most of our notes of like, hey, everyone, you really have to pay attention to this section because someone was out there, and you can't leave it. You can't leave them out by themselves, or you have to look at your peripheral, because if you're rapping or you're doing something and someone comes up with a good idea, you can't ignore them. You can't just be about you. You have
Right.
to be able to look around and pass the ball. It's really about, once you see somebody, pass the ball. And, so that we all, so everybody, what Tommy likes to say, so everybody gets to eat. So everybody gets to eat on stage. So that's the only time where we can look and go, oh, okay, I wish we'd have done this better. But as far as like the performance, nah, whatever happens, happens. And it's supposed to be, and it'll be fun.
Yeah. That's lovely. And again, that idea is about, you're talking about Freestyle Love Supreme, but it's also life. It's living in community.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely. I like that you, I remember with the Broadway run, you guys, there was a big deal made about people's cell phones were taken and you had to put them in these things so that people couldn't video. And when you were talking before about like, it's here and then it's gone and you got to let it go. It makes me think of like Buddhist monks, and they make those sand mandalas, right? They make that art and they spend so much time and then they just blow it away.
Yeah.
And I so love that about theater, that it's here and then it's gone, but then people take these bootlegs and then it's frozen in a way. And so I really loved that you guys did that. But I also imagined that freed you up to feel less pressure because it wasn't ever recorded. So it was gone. And so you couldn't you had to let it go.
Well, there's those moments I think we've lost in our as much as we've gained in our wonderful community of the world, we've kind of lost that sense of humor. We've lost that sense of it's okay to say something and not offend someone. So we basically tell our audience, look, we don't want you to videotape what we're doing, because not that we're trying to offend you, but something may be said in the moment of the scene as the character or in a rhyme or something that can be literally taken out of context. We can literally say, someone can videotape this interview right now and take one sentence of what we said and just play that sound bite. And both sides of the coin, left and right, because we both do it, even though no one wants to admit it. Both sides will take that thing and then play that over and over. And instead of people going back and seeing the entire interview of Stars Announcement, Anika, Larsen, and James Weigelhart, they'll play that, get on social media, and just start commenting. So we take that away from people and say, no, be in the moment. It also takes you off your phone and you have to concentrate on what's going on. Oh my God, who's calling?
Perfect time.
Of course, Derek Baskin's calling me. Thanks, D. I'm on TV right now. Stop. I'll call him later.
But that's it too. I mean, I love this. You guys should write a book, The Zen of Freestyle Love Supreme, because all of this is really about like a healthier way to be present, be in the moment.
Yeah, you have to and also if you're present, then not only is the cast with you, not only is the cast in the moment, but the audience is in the moment and they are engaged, and they can't, and all of a sudden they don't even realize that they're so engaged that they're throwing out all kinds of suggestions for us because they're in the groove with us. And each audience has a different rhythm, and that audience, it's amazing how all of a sudden you get swept up into this rhythm of that night. And that's why people come back, because it's different. They're like, oh my God, it's different. They're playing the same games or same vocals, but oh my gosh, it's different every night. It's never been the same for 17 years. It's never been the same.
I love that. I love that. And I love you. You're wonderful.
Thank you
for coming.
Please, my pleasure. Oh my gosh.
I don't know, till the next time, till I see you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Cannot wait. Thank you.
Right. Bye, honey. All right. Our next guest. I met our next guest when we did Xanadu together. After which she created the title role in Liz Estrada Jones, as well as the role of Elsa in Frozen on Broadway. She is, of course, Patty Murin. Hello! Oh no, you're muted. That old chestnut. I'll vamp. Is Dr. Lepook here? He is. Why don't we go with Dr. Lepook? Yes, absolutely. Hi. Oh, wait. No, wait. I have to do my intro. Well, you can be here for my intro. It's okay if he's here. You can be here for my intro.
I'm on because I'm not muted. Okay, I'll take it.
That is your special skill for the day. But wait, no, I always have to do a fabulous intro for you. So our next guest has been a regular on the show since the very beginning of Stars in the House. He's like Kramer next door to Seinfeld, who pops in every day, except with way more wisdom and medical expertise. His special skills include science dispensing, news breaking, fear mitigating, caution advising, nerve calming, truth telling, and tap dancing. I made up the tap dancing. He's the one, the only, CBS's chief medical correspondent, Dr. John Lepook.
That's amazing. Can you do my phone answering machine
I would
message?
love to. I would love to. But actually, what are your special skills?
No special skills. But
not true, because I've seen you sing, and I know you sing, because there's a video of him doing the fugue for
tin horns.
Yes, from Guys and Dolls, and he's fantastic. So you sing.
And I'm coughing correctly, but I'm fine.
That should be on your special skills, coughing correctly. Absolutely.
But anyway, it's great to see you. And there's a lot of news, right? There's a lot of COVID news.
Yes. Let us know. What's the latest?
Well, tonight we're getting news that Moderna next week is going to probably submit an emergency use authorization request we've been waiting for that for the FDA for the 6-month to 5-year-old. So we've been waiting for that, and hopefully the preliminary studies look like it's not 90% effective. It's somewhere, 50%, a little bit less at preventing infection, but I think very good, it seems, at preventing hospitalization and death. So we need that. But one of the problems is that even the 5 to 11-year-olds, we're not getting a big uptake of that. I think it's a little less than 30% of people are fully immunized in that group. Yeah. So, it's interesting. The older you get, the higher the immunization rate has been. And what a surprise. The lower you get, the younger you get, the higher the infection rate is.
Yeah. So
it turns out that these vaccines work.
Yeah. So I have a 5 and a 6-year-old. They're both fully vaccinated. We got to the place a couple months ago where all the mask mandates were being removed. And we thought, it is so much a part of being a young person and figuring out how to be social, especially when they're that young, like to be able to smile at their friends and social cues and all of that. So we let them take off their masks going to school. And then there's been an uptick everywhere, but where I live too. And so we've had our boys put their masks back on for school, but they're not that many. And so I wonder what you recommend for small children.
Yeah.
It feels like when the rates are high, we mask. And then when they're low, we take the risk.
Well, and I think that was the idea, right? That you would take the weather report. How is it in your neighborhood? You go to the cdc.gov website, you put in your zip code. It tells you what the amount of COVID is in your area, and you make your risk assessment based on that. I think right now, the analogy that I've sort of thought of right now, how we're all so anxious for this thing to be over, and everybody's fed up with the masks come off. It reminds me at the end of a fireworks when you think it's over, and then all of a sudden, the one last big finale.
Right.
And I think we're kind of seeing that now. It makes sense. We've got Omicron variants that are very, very infectious, super infectious, spreading. I mean, today I've had 3 new patients who've had COVID. I've prescribed Paxlovid. We were saying Paxlovid. Apparently, the company says Paxlovid, but an antiviral medicine by any other name, it's the same. And so there's a lot of it out there. But fortunately, the people who are vaccinated and boosted, please, if you've had those first 2 messenger RNA vaccines and you haven't had the booster yet, please get the booster, because if you're eligible, because it really makes a difference. It really makes a difference.
That's good to know. And now, is there going to be another, I got boosted. In 6 months, am I going to want to get boosted again?
Did you get the 1 booster or 2 boosters?
Oh, I got all of mine late. So because of the timing of when I got COVID, so I only just got boosted in February, and that was my first.
So if you're 4 months past that booster, and if you're over 50, then
what if you're almost 50?
Well, that's why, I mean, I think people,
yeah,
there's no, they have these guidelines, and then people, they go a little to the left or a little to the right of them. But you do get some transient with that second booster. You get some transient increase in protection for weeks, against getting infected. It kind of dies down, but what stays up is the protection against hospitalization and death, which is what you want. But whenever I say, I'm always a little anxious when I give you these numbers. Go to the CDC website to get the exact guidelines. They can change a little bit, but the idea is that if you're eligible for the booster, I do think you should get it. The last thing I would just say, because I know you want to go back to the entertainers, is that when you're thinking about how to resume your life right now, which we all are, I think you've got to think about it in 2-week, maybe 3-week little tranches there. What am I doing in the next 2 to 3 weeks?
Right.
It's because, can I afford getting infected? If I'm boosted, probably not going to get hospitalized, probably not going to die. Right. There is the risk of getting long COVID, which is there's a whole other thing. It's 5 to 30%. Let's say it's 10%. If you're vaccinated, maybe it's half that, 5%. That's still a chance of getting long COVID, which is no fun. Yeah. It remains to be seen whether getting Paxlovid, which lowers the amount of virus because it blocks viral replication, whether that decreases the risk of long COVID. Makes sense that it might, because it looks like the amount of virus in your system is associated with your risk of long COVID, but we don't know that yet. There will be studies for that.
And that's the treatment you take after you've gotten COVID.
Gotten COVID, you're positive. It's 3 capsules twice a day for 5 days. It can give you a metallic taste. It can give you some GI symptoms, some nausea, some diarrhea. And you need to make sure you do that with your doctor, looking at your medications, because it can raise the dose of other medications that you have. You have to adjust things. And maybe you're a candidate for monoclonal antibodies or something else. But I think you need to think, okay, if I get infected today, I'll probably find out about it, test positive within a week.
Right.
Maybe sooner. I got to be in isolation for 5 days. Right. And then on that 6th day through 10th, I still have to wear a mask. I actually favor, if you can have a rapid test, even on that 6th day, you'd like to test out before you leave isolation. I know it's a tough recommendation to make to 330 million Americans. So the CDC is trying to make broad recommendations, but I just think it makes sense if you're still testing positive on a rapid, not on a PCR. PCR is more sensitive. If you're on a rapid test, still testing positive, you're probably still infectious. Why leave isolation at that point? Right. So I think, but by the 11th day, day 0 is the day you first get a symptom or you first test positive, not day 1. So day 0, if you get infected, if you get a symptom today and you test positive today, say, that's day 0. By day 11, you can go out again, assuming to me, what I'm telling my patients is assuming you've tested out on a negative Binax. If you don't have access to testing, then the CDC is saying by day 11, you can lose that mask. But 6 through 10, don't be confused. Isolation is day 0 to 5, but 6 through 10, you have to wear a high quality mask if you're going to leave isolation. And I mean an N95 or a KN95. So that's the thing. That's why 2 to 3 weeks. I've got some events coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm kind of being super careful again.
Yeah. No, that's smart. That's great advice. Thank you, Dr. John LaPook.
Anika, thank you very much. Thanks for that intro, and I will take you up on my phone answering machine.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Bye.
All right, let's try again. Patty, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
You're there. Oh, you moved locations in front of a brick wall.
No. David Katz had me check my my settings, and I discovered virtual background, and this is kind of the only option. And I was like, well, I'll just have a fun brick wall.
Well, you look like a comedian back in the day when they all
or a
did.
Muppet. Just a Muppet. Just a Muppet's gonna come right here.
How are you? Patty! Patty. Wait, I want to show, I sent David a picture of you and me when we did Xanadu together.
Oh my God.
It was when we did one night when we were on together doing the little trio. How about us?
Yeah. Oh my God. Which I never sang those harmonies right. When I was swinging, I was just like, I don't know. This sounds fine.
That's too hard a task. Tight 3-part harmony, and you had to know all the 3 parts. Not fair. Not cool.
No, not cool. Nope. So sorry.
Okay, so Patty, what is on your special skills on your resume?
I have many. Well, obviously roller skating. as we learned to roller skate. I think we both had roller skated. Yeah, it's a strange loop thing. I stole their yoga mat. I didn't really, but I did. But I didn't. You'll never know. So roller skating, we had to, relearn to do that together because I think we both roller skated in our childhoods, right? But you didn't. Okay. I had,
which is
yeah. Yeah. But like relearning as an adult with actual bones that break, it was slightly more terrifying. So that I also went to basketball camp with NBA superstar Chris Mullin for Lysistrata Jones. So we had to do a 5-day. There it is. Look at me. I'm just like, what is that? Is that a ball? But it was actually really fun because I like to think that I'm not terribly unathletic, and so it was sort of more of like a fun thing to learn and kind of get in shape also.
Yeah, it was pretty remarkable what you guys did in that show. It was awesome. How terrifying, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how terrifying was it every night, would you say?
Not so terrifying because every time I had to shoot a ball, it was at least going in the upstage direction. Whereas the boys, they had a whole number with basketballs and they had to like dance with, or they had two, they had to dance with them. And it was like, it was just like that was real iffy because some of those boys did not play basketball at all and still don't.
How many times a week, or if it makes more sense to count how many times a night, like how many times a week did basketballs end up in the audience?
Not many, as I remember. I feel like maybe once or twice. I mean, that could be also because we had a very short run. But in that short run time, it actually wasn't, I don't think it was that bad, which is kind of nuts because, in the theater, the front row is like here, and like a basketball just being like, terrifying. I know other shows have done it, with projectiles before. And there's always a story, but so that was the foul shooting was one of my favorite things to do. So I got a really good lesson on that. And whenever I get a basketball on my hand, sometimes I'm like, can I still do it? And it depends on the day. And then I also had to learn how to baton twirl for a show I did called Band Geeks at Goodspeed.
I remember that.
Yep. And my best friend Heather grew up baton twirling. She was like a national champion baton twirler. No, she twirled for the University of Delaware and went on a scholarship for baton twirling. So she kind of gave me like baton boot camp a little bit. And, I had like 3 tricks, but my baton ended up in our orchestra pit.
Reach there
more than one time. So that was not the most fun. But yeah, I and I feel like those are the 3 that totally come to mind that I'm like, yep, had to. It's all about like, why is it always coordination? Like, why is it always coordination and not like using my brain for something?
Yeah. Also because because you were there when I did my Maggie Smith impersonation, you had to do it too. But like the Maggie Smith impersonation can't like fall on the stage and roll into the audience or hurt somebody or make you fall. Like if the worst case scenario is just not a great impersonation, but you don't fall, you don't embarrass yourself,
Yeah. Yep.
No, it's so stressful. All right. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the roller skating.
Okay. All right.
I don't know about you. Do you remember that in rehearsals, every day when we did the roller skating rehearsal was always the last hour of the day, 5 to 6, when everybody was already fried. Like you were already fried. Like we all know, all the studies show your brain is best at learning like 2 to 3 hours from when you woke up. And why we always waited till 5 to 6 to do that number, I wanted to cry every day. And every day I kept feeling so panicky because I was like, we're one day closer to the first preview when people are coming and I can't figure this out. Because yes, I had rollerbladed, but that's actually different. And once I figured out that it was closer to ice skating than to rollerblading, that's when it kind of clicked for me. But that also it is different than dancing on roller skates, the added layer of dancing on roller skates. And I just felt so panicky that I burst into tears one day in rehearsals, and we all had to go. I don't know if you remember, we all had to go to lunch early because there was a 4-person ensemble and a quarter of the ensemble was crying in the bathroom. And they were like, we just can't keep her. We'll come back after lunch. But it was so stressful. So
I don't know if you remember, but they brought me in 2 or 3 weeks late because they don't have to bring swings in.
They don't, and they don't like to pay them.
That's
Yeah.
exactly why they didn't do it. So
Yeah.
I came in and I was, whatever it was, 2 or 3 weeks behind on roller skating. So I had to get private roller skating lessons by this old guy at a small park in the East Village.
I do not remember this at all.
And like, I'm sure, you know, he was like a great roller skater, you know what I mean? Like in his day, I'm sure. But I was just like, this is maybe the weirdest. And it was the first Broadway show I had ever done. Like, and I was just like, I'm in a park in the East Village with these janky Roxy roller skates because I still didn't have my show once.
The rehearsal roller skates were busted. By the way, I found there they are.
I still have mine too.
There's like tape on them. You can see how busted they taped them with like white tape, and they're all painted where they got dirty and stuff. I love that.
Yeah. Because it was like that thing also where you were like, well, I don't want new roller skates because then I have to break them in again. And like, these are my babies. But you were just like, but they also.
There she is.
Oh my God. Like Kanita.
Which, by the way, I just have to stop and plug. But Kanita Miller is currently 8.5 months pregnant in For Color Girls on Broadway. And you guys, I'm telling you, run, don't walk, and see it in the next week or two. Because yes, she'll go away on maternity leave and come back. But it is not the same as the experience of watching her dancing and living and beautiful and pregnant on stage. So
do you know how long she'll be in it for? Or is she... I mean, she's pretty pregnant.
Pretty pregnant, and so like she could go into labor tomorrow. So who knows? Yeah. But I know she's planning on being there for. No, I'm not going to say specific, but if at least a couple more weeks.
Okay.
But I would sooner than later. Seriously, you guys, run, don't walk. It's so good. But anyway, back to roller skating. Weird. And wait, so the other swing was Marty, and he was he was hired because he could roller skate. So I was going to say, wasn't the other swing there? But no, Marty was like knock down, drag out, like phenomenal roller skater.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to go with you to the Lower East Side.
No. And he was there from the beginning because he started out as the dance captain. And then when everybody broke their everythings, Marty was one of them. And that's when they made me the dance captain. And
I forgot about all of that. Oh, the drama. Yeah.
Oh my God, the dance it was just like, what is happening? Yeah. But I think he was always like the skate captain. He was always the one because he was just very good at skating and, you know, and all that stuff. So yeah, that was that whole thing. So like when everyone kind of got knocked out for a little bit and we had that extended preview period where we brought in Cheyenne, and that was when Kanita was out, and so I was on for her.
Right. I didn't remember the previews too.
Yeah.
So for everybody, so James Carpinello, I'm saying that right? It's been so long. Yeah. Yes, he was our original Sonny. Was that his name? How come I can't remember anything?
Yes, Sonny Malone. Yeah.
And then one day in rehearsals during previews, it was the end of rehearsal, and I remember them saying, "Okay, so you guys, I guess because our skates were marking up the stage, and so they had put this like coating on the stage so that to protect the paint on the stage. And so they said, everybody put your skates on and go up to test it out because it's going to feel a little different." And we all did. And we went and stood up there, and we were sort of swishing around on our skates. And then I remember James going, "Yeah, it is a little different. It's good that you took," and like legs out from under him, one leg lands under him, and then just face goes white. And he says, "I think I broke my leg." And we were all like, "Ha!" And it was real. And then we didn't have a leading man. And there was a preview that night. And wonderful Andre Ward went on for him. Not in any way. He was second cover, not in any way expecting to go on. And he saved the day. But then they brought in Cheyenne Jackson. And that's, Broadway history. That's why Cheyenne was the lead in Xanadu. And then Kanita too. I have to say, I always was so impressed by Carrie Butler because she was as uncertain as any of us. The boys like figured it out. And all of us girls were like terrified in the corner.
Yeah.
She was as nervous as any of us at the start. And she never once, I left the show and you took over, so you can speak to this, but she never fell or even seemed to wobble when I was, unbelievable.
Nope. I don't think she ever. Nope.
She's sort of magical. Carrie Butler is kind of a magical human being.
She is. She's sort of like a little fairy, right? Like she's
Yeah.
always been like that.
Yeah.
She
So
doesn't age. She doesn't, she can always like sing or do whatever. Like she's just, she's a little magical being.
She was like, well, I have a cold. And I was like, wait, this is what you sound like when you have a cold? That's not fair. She didn't sound any different.
She called out the entire history of the show. She called out sick one singular time, and it was only because it was a Wednesday afternoon, and she was like, I'm just feeling a little bit drippy, and there's Tony voters coming tonight, so I want to make sure that I'm good for them. The only reason that I went on after at all for her was because she kept going to Disney World.
Yes, that is her thing. No, but that's, I think, why she's got such a charmed life, is because that Disney World shining down on her, keeping her from falling on her roller skates.
And she clearly knows, like, what she needs for mental health, and it's Disney World. And I 1,000% appreciate that. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you're right. She was so nervous, but she was on skates for 90% of the show.
Oh, that's the thing. We only did the finale.
I know.
Like girls,
half of the finale.
Last half of the finale. Yes, and there was so much going on, and the disco balls were coming down. Like you could hardly even notice us. There was so much going on, but she was on skates for 80% of the show. And she's a pro. But we both had to cover her, so we both had to be ready to be on. With never enough preparation, right? Because it's not fair. Even with the put-in, you don't get to do it with the real lights or sound. Or it was terrifying. And I tell all the time, and I know you've heard the story, and Seth loves it, and he makes me tell it all the time. But just the moment where, so the start of the show, we would all come out of the stage. There was fog, and you couldn't see that a trapdoor was lifting us up the stage. So everybody how many were there? Was only like 8 or 9. It was such a small cast, like 8 or 9 of us waiting underneath the stage.
Yes, it was. What did we were 5, 6, 7 muses, but then
I think
there were 7. Yeah, because it was the 4 of us: Mary, Testa, and Jackie, and then Carrie. Yes.
And so we'd all be under the stage, and then in groups of like 2 or 3, everybody would rise up until finally Carrie would come up and be fabulous. So, but then when I went on for her the first time, I'm standing there, and in 2x2s, you guys were leaving me, and I just had the very, very lucid moment of what would happen to my life and career if I just ran out of the building right now. Like what my agents would find out, people would find out, would it stop me from getting jobs? Like I thought I was thinking through all the steps of what would be and then suddenly, but then the trapdoor came down and there was no thinking, and I got on it and went up and blacked out for 90 minutes and then was done and didn't fall, never fell.
Nope. You were wonderful. You were absolutely marvelous.
I only got to go on twice ever for her in the whole time. But then I did, I got to do the tour. I did the last 9 weeks of the tour.
Yes, you did.
Because it was and I still never fell, but I was way more, But anyways, but it was still it was like, oh, you put all that work in, and sort of finally be able to get to do it, and get to do it to the point where it becomes fun. Because it's not fun unless you've done a full week in a row.
Yeah. I mean, you're so right, and also being an understudy and then being in a show and going on with understudies. It's such a great perspective to have, to understand what it's like to be in an understudy's shoes, especially in a show like that. But it's just like, what the ever loving Jesus is going on at any given time in that musical? What is happening? You're just all dependent on each other, and there's a tiny stage, and you have Tony Roberts, and you have to do your specific staging with Tony so it doesn't get mad at you. And so it was. I'm so glad that I got to do that, because I feel like in Frozen, especially, I was just like, bring it on. I was just like, we're all in this together, and everyone was so kind, I feel like, to us and to any other understudy that went on in Xanadu, and really that was what started my whole true career of shows with understudies and covers.
Yeah. Okay, before you go, could you look in the private chat, and can you see, I feel like, how do you feel about doing Akira accent?
I can do that because it's bad.
So there's one, there's 2 of them there. One is from my lovely friend Dan Watt. Do you see them? There's a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
So that one and the one below it. Feel free to do any voices you would like.
Let's see. Ready, guys? Okay, I'm doing this. I'm doing this for James Monroe Iglehart, because I was just listening to him, and he was like, living in the moment, whatever happens, happens.
Ignore the voice. Yes.
Exactly. Whatever. As Anika's #1 fan and a huge fan of this show, I'm glad I can donate to this amazing cause. Dan Watt, $50.
Thank you, Dan. Lovely.
Half
Do you do
Cockney,
any
half
other-
Australian.
It was delightful. What else do you do?
Let's see, what else do I do?
No, just-
I can try Fargo. Let's try Fargo.
Yes.
Everyone on tonight's show does have surprising special skills. So glad to see Barrett Foa. I miss you on NCIS LA. Sherry in Oregon, $35.
Where do you see that one?
Right there.
There it
underneath
is.
Dan Watt.
Oh, so well done. Yes,
Yeah.
you're a pro. Fantastic. Thank you, Sherry
wait.
in Oregon.
It's
there
wait,
another
look at the private, look at the bottom. John LaPook has something to show me.
Oh, bring it on.
This is exciting.
All right. It turns out I didn't realize the special skill thing. It turns out I do have a special skill. You were talking before about something, and I did a little psychokinesis, which tends to drain me, but
Wow.
Wow.
How do you have that? Did you win that for free at something? I mean, Faith Hoops Chastity. Oh my God.
love the show. Love the show. Got the shirt.
Thank you. Thank
Love
you
the show.
so much.
Love the show. One of my favorite
Oh,
shirts.
Thank you
So,
so much. That
Special
means so
skill
much.
and scene.
Oh,
That's
you're the
awesome.
best.
Theater
You're the best. Yay!
Dr. LaPook, thank you. Patty, thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Mwah, mwah,
Oh,
mwah, mwah. All right. Our next guest, let me scroll down. Okay. So our next guest and I have been working together for several years on the musical Almost Famous, which is coming to Broadway sometime. They did the national tour of In the Heights, and they performed off Broadway in Jerry Springer the Musical and Our Lady of 121st Street. Ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Contreras.
Yeah!
My 5-year-old knows how to do that. I'm like, you've never seen an air horn.
You're like, you have no. I mean, it's really the internet and TV. That's how I learned it. I know nothing.
Okay, so what special skills are on your resume?
Oh, geez. It's also so fun watching everyone name their special skills, like full icons that I love. Patty, James Monroe, like I love them, and hearing their special skills really just.
The thing is, we're also uncomfortable about it. I don't think anybody like feels good about what they put in their special skills. We all feel like, please don't actually ask me to do it. I don't know. Do you?
Okay. I mean, no one really asks me to do any of my special skills at an audition anyway.
Okay.
And like also like picking up a new special skill too, like most recently has been so interesting. So like I've had all my stuff, like I'm strong with harmony. I do like a cappella singing, like in barbershop stuff. That was like my first job. Was like barbershop quartet, which I love doing. It's so much fun. I had rapping. I mean, I'm no James Monroe.
A good ear to do those tight harmonies. You just have to have such a good musical ear.
Oh yeah, it's like it's so much fun for me. That I'm like such a music nerd like that. So like that is a skill, but it's also like a treat. It's like a yummy treat. Yeah. Yeah. I also put in my special skills. Like I said, I'm no James Monroe, but I put rapping. I'm not a freestyler. I cannot do that. I wish.
It's because the voice. I can't remember what side, but just tell us.
I do like a lot of I have a lot of great Latin styles of dancing. That's like a special skill that I love. I mean, I was kind of raised on that. So what some other people are like, oh, that's a special skill, but to me, it was just like, oh, barbecue. Let me dance 8 different styles of dance. And then I had all my special skills like juggling. I can juggle like sax. Yeah, and I had to learn that for shows. Like I had to learn that from random shows, and I can play the spoons. Okay, listen, I forgot. My roommate's doing dishes now, so we have no spoons, but we could play the spoons, and then I like recently learned Bhangra, which is Bollywood dancing, which is a whole.
Let's talk about this. So you just came back from La Jolla, where you were doing Bhangra dancing in a musical. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
in a musical called Bangin' It. Please tell us a little bit of about what Bhangra is.
Okay, so Bhangra is a form of Indian style dancing. It's like a traditional folk dance that's based in Punjabi. Oh, that picture. Oh, we'll bring that picture back because that's cool. Like that costume, explaining that costume is cool. It's essentially it originated in a folk dance of like the people of the region of Punjab. So it's based in like incredible culture, and it was like a dance of harvesting back in the day. So they would use that as a way of celebrating harvests. And a lot of these like cool moves have such Jerry Tanala. Jerry Tanala's here. There were a swing. He was a swing on the show. Yay. And my understudy, and he's an icon. I love him so much. Yeah. And it's a really cool, really incredible dance form that is so popular in America. So popular. Right there in that shot, I'm doing Bollywood dancing in a Bollywood style number, which is so much fun. I had to learn Bollywood too, which is cool.
That's so fun. So there, you sent me, and it was in the New York Times, this wonderful article about the show. And so I learned from that article that there's like a whole collegiate competition. It reminds me of like step dancing competitions.
Yeah.
Of course, I then went and watched on YouTube. And like with step dancing, it's not just about the dance. Like they become like 3-act plays with like projections and set pieces and costumes, and it's a whole thing.
It's a huge thing. Like it's absolutely unreal. It's like like I mean, I've never been to a competition itself, but like it feels like cutthroat, familial, really fun, like competition. But like most people of color, it's just really awesome and fun, and it's dripping with such culture and joy. And that's the fun thing about this. It's like everything has a meaning and a respect. It's treated with such respect. So like the costumes that we have, like that we were wearing are just beautiful. I mean, if you saw in that green costume, so like that hat is called a pug, and that's not allowed to be on the floor. The shirt is called a kurta, which is a style of shirt in like Indian wear. The skirt that I'm wearing is like it's rigged, but it's supposed to be like a bunch of like it's fabric, and it's like that's a chadar, which means blanket. And like the whole thing itself, like the whole uniform, which means uniform, is like a vardi. And it's just super fascinating, and it's like dripping in really beautiful old style dance. And
how much of this did you know about before the show?
None.
Isn't that amazing? I love that about our jobs, and now you're like an expert talking about it on a show.
Well, I wish we had our incredible like choreographer Rouge Vaidya, who is she's one of the first people to bring Bollywood to Disney. She like choreographed Cheetah Girls One World. Like she is a star. Like she helped choreograph this along with like our Bhangra consultant Anushka Pushpala, like who is like deep in collegiate Bhangra competitive dancing and choreography. So like it was like the blend of worlds, and we also had different styles of dancing in that show too. We had Kathak, which I didn't do, which you have bells on your ankles. Which are called gungurus, and then you have like we didn't have Bharatanatyam, which it's very classical, and it's very they're all just beautiful dancings. But
how did you audition for this show? How did you?
I auditioned for this during the pandemic, during the Pandaruni, and it was actually in the summer of the pandemic of 2020 that I like put myself on tape, and I was like, I don't have the money. I'm not going to go out and like go to a studio. So I did this in my apartment. And at first it was just like like a small little reading online. And then it was going to be the workshop in the fall, hopefully pending, or was it this summer? I think it was actually 2021. Sorry, 2021. After it was things were starting to happen. And I auditioned like self-tapes after the callback.
I believe we have your dance self-tapes. So.
I said
check this out. amazing. I buy it. I wouldn't know that was like your first day doing
baby,
that.
I had to sell it. Fake it till you make it.
You did. I am not surprised you got cast. That is
just so much fun. Like, how can you not? Like, I'm also like lucky that like it's Bhangra is like very like rooted in its speciality, and like it's very special. So I felt like I had a rhythm enough to like figure it out, and then
in your body.
Yeah, it's very
like
in your body. It's
Yeah.
barefoot. You have to be barefoot. It's so special. And like when we got into workshops, we went through like Bhangra boot camp, like fully, and a little Bollywood boot camp. Like we had to practice hand stuff, and then like the sweep away, like all these like cool. It's just awesome. It's just like you sweep, and then it's just so hard. And even now doing it, we'd have to like work our wrist, our feet. It was the coolest experience ever. The culture is so special. I felt like such an honored and humbled guest, a part of something so beautiful. And even like those pictures that you saw was the big mega mix. Like there's a huge mega mix at the end where we do everyone. So that's, right there. It's like the huge mega mix. And those things in our hand, those are called sups. And they are essentially exactly what they look like. They're like triangle contraptions that you clap together. So a lot of it is like this. So you have to, it's like an accordion, and they're made of heavy plastic, and you have to twist them. And it's so hard, but there is nothing more fulfilling than getting that right. Oh, I mean, still, it's like one of my favorite things that I've ever like dances or things that I've ever done on a stage. Like it's just, it was so rewarding. And especially the mega mix, like we're just ourselves. So we're saying things like "hoi, hoi," which is like an exclamation of like it's like in Latin and like in Spanish and like Latino culture, it'd be like "wepa," but it'd be like "ballet" or "hoi, hoi." So we just yell that in the middle of dancing Bhangra. So it was just so cool.
I love that you have that experience. What are some other special skills that you have been able to employ in your career?
Well, you know, you've seen this one firsthand. Oh, I taught myself how to play the drums.
Yes, you did, because you play Silent Ed.
Play Silent Ed.
The drummer in Stillwater in Almost Famous.
That wig. That wig.
Do you miss it?
Oh, I miss that wig. I named that wig Milagros. Miracles. Milagros. That was her name. It was it's like you can't, that wig. When you put on that wig, you can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. No. What lace? What lace?
It's true.
It does not exist.
So good wig. So how was that? How did you teach yourself drums?
How did I teach myself? Anika, I taught myself how to play drums on our lunch breaks. I taught myself because we didn't have time. Like we got into rehearsals, like we kind of booked it, and then we were like, what, a month, like a half, like, and I also didn't, like a month later we were in rehearsals, but I also didn't know what it was. Like I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I was joining the cast. I knew of Almost Famous. I didn't know at what capacity I would be playing the drums. So I was like, oh no. Okay. So I had one of my friends show me some drum stuff for maybe like half an hour one day at like a studio. And then I was like, oh wait, I can't afford a studio. So let me go to Guitar Center on 43rd Street and teach myself how to play drums on my lunch break.
Is that what this video is from?
You wanted all the videos and you got them.
I did.
What cracks me up is that it's just a bunch of drums down there, so people just come and play all the time. But like, as you can see, that person was like, "This is my show, welcome," and I was like, "I'm just here, like, Hey, don't mind me. I'm just playing.
Just giving you a little 1973
Yes.
style.
So I would literally just like I bought my own sticks. I had a few sticks that I would bring to rehearsal for myself because I didn't want to use the props.
Yeah.
But literally, they would walk around like I mean, and these are incredible drummers. So I would just show up to Guitar Center on 43rd between 1 and 2. And I was like, and if it wasn't open, then I had to wait. And sometimes I would like eat in Guitar Center and like wait for a drum to come up and then just like run and be like, and just something real quick because I didn't want to touch Shannon's drums, who was our drummer, because that's like expensive drums. That's his drums. So yeah, I went for it and I love it. It's so much fun. I also feel like we have so many people in our cast who play drums. Like Jeremy plays drums. Our director.
It's true. It is sort of remarkable how many people play drums and none of them were asked to actually play the drums except the person who doesn't know how to play drums.
And I was like, you know what? I love a challenge.
Yes, you do. I am so proud of you and your commitment, and you do it. I believe it.
Fake it till you make it. That's cool. Fake it till you make it. You feel me?
I love that. Right, before you go, I want you to tell me about another set of special skills, basically cerebral special skills, using all of you and all of your creative brain to create your own work. Please tell us a little bit about that because I love this. Decide they have to create their own destinies and control their own content. And I think that's so important. And with young people like you who understand how to work the internet, tell us a little bit about your baby.
Yay, my baby. So I created, along with my best friend, a queer sketch comedy platform called the Homo Sapien Experience. We like to tell fun and funny stories about the Homo Sapien experience with the emphasis on homo. And we just like really love producing, writing. We've written for a lot of really great companies and producers. We worked with Logo. We've been on E! We've worked on separate apps. And so we just like love creating content. And like it was starting before the pandemic, us producing and writing our own work. And then TikTok happened and we kept on doing TikToks and just who we are as silly people. Matthew Curiano, please look him up. Matthew Curiano, that's my best friend.
How do you spell it?
Matthew, and then Curiano, Curiano. And we now like have over 1.5 million followers across all platforms.
Wow.
And we are like really happy that yay! So it's called the Homo Sapien Experience. And we just like love sharing stories and we love collaborating with other artists in our industry. Because I feel like I know that you've seen so many people in this business, Anika, who have so much to share, right? Even the people that I see on these like Stars in the House, like Patty, James, like all these incredible people have so much inside of them. And they share it with the world. And that's what I hope to do with other people. So we like to invite other people. We like to invite other queer people. We think it's important that queer people are telling queer experiences. And sometimes they have nothing to do with queer people at all. And that's the best part. And I find myself like a special skill that I've learned was like writing and producing and directing and even my own personal projects outside of that, which are choreography and filmmaking. There came a point, Anika, where I was like, no one's going to give this to me, so I might as well just create it. And I did. And it's brought me the most incredible experiences, the most incredible opportunity, and the most special, fulfilling things of my life. I'm a different person because of something that Matt and I decided to learn and teach ourselves and work with. So I'm just like over the moon about it. And now we're a production company business and we love working. It's fun.
Amazing. I'm so proud of you. That's amazing. You're amazing. Thank you for being here, Brandon. I'll see you
soon. Anika. I adore you.
We'll have another drink on FaceTime soon.
I love that. Bye.
Bye. All righty, folks. Our last guest of the evening. For 12 years, he starred in NCIS Los Angeles, but he started out as a theater man, appearing on Broadway in Mamma Mia, the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, and Avenue Q. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Barrett Foa. Yes.
I'm ruining the illusion. No, it's Avenue Q. I should be in the shot
You
with
should
him.
be absolutely in the shot with him.
He-
That's funny. That is the low budgetest Princeton I've ever seen.
Look, he's like a little derpy. He's a little like this is a pretty low budge Princeton,
Yeah.
but it was for like a little cabaret that I put together, and I just needed one. I needed one quickly.
Perfect and wonderful for today's purposes. Because the
My
puppet
old friend.
for actual Avenue Q, the puppets are like thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
So
not
they're
this
made.
one.
And so I always love when people are like, did they let you keep a puppet? And I'm like, you don't understand how it works. Or they'll come to my house, and in my basement, we have also our own. But there were $50 on the internet. They're not good puppet. It's like driving a Pinto after you've driven a Lexus, right? Like it's just, it doesn't handle the same. It doesn't.
It's a different thing. This was like really like this like crushed my soul to do this. Even if it was like a thing in a cabaret that I did that was like 30 seconds long, and I was like, actually, though, funnily enough, the first time I did it, what was that show called? Big Little Liars. Was filming in town. And in that, Reese Witherspoon's character directs a production of Avenue Q. So they had the puppets in LA, but like they weren't being used. And somehow I knew someone who knew Jeff Marks, who knew that they were there. And so I like did a drive-by, picked up the original Princeton, like my original Princeton, to use it for this cabaret, my own like solo show cabaret in LA for like this 1 30-second thing, and brought it back. But it's again, they're like thousands of dollars. So they're like, if you lose this, you die.
Oh yeah, no, they're so serious about it, and they give it to you in like a duffel bag, and it just all feels very illegal. It feels weird. It doesn't feel right.
Totally. So the second time I did it, I was like, I don't have that access to my like original Princeton, so I bought this little janky derpy guy. Anyway, we'll use him later.
Go ahead.
I want to talk about handling the puppets, because just every time I do this, it looks like I'm choking him. Right?
Yes.
Sorry, one second. So every time I take him off, we'll talk about this later, but it looks like I'm choking him. I remember my first day at puppet camp, which you know about puppet camp, and we'll talk about puppet camp. I remember being like, should I not be doing this? Is it like, is disrespectful to the puppet and to like the craft of puppetry? And the guy, Rick Lyon, who created the puppets and designed the puppets and built the puppets, was like, no, do what you need to do. Like, get it off your hand.
Right.
But, I didn't know, coming from the outside, you want to respect the...
Oh, yeah. But yes, within the room, like within the rehearsal room, but they are very protective of that kind of stuff. You don't get to see anybody doing that. Like, you wouldn't be allowed to do that with one of their puppets on this live stream, or like on anything that they don't let you, like, because the puppets are all backstage on these pegs, and they look like this all in rows.
Like,
there's not allowed to be pictures disseminated of them when they're not fully alive. And it comes from the whole...
Those are different rules. Those are new rules. They weren't as precious, at least when I was there. Or maybe I wasn't listening.
Could be that. Wait, before we get there, I do want to ask you what are your special skills on your resume?
My special skills are puppetry.
Of course.
My special skills are, I think I'm sort of good at accents, but that is just like, the setup for disaster.
Sure. So since you just said that, somebody donated money. Can you see it right here? It starts, I love NCIS. It's the third one from the top. Pick an accent and do it in that accent.
All right. So sometimes I just go around my house, especially if I'm like straightening things up, I narrate things in accents, and like the accent just comes out.
Sure.
And another thing I do, and especially during the pandemic, when I don't have a mask here, but when I had a mask on, I would go to the grocery store and just talk to myself in an accent and grocery shop and be like, so sometimes it would just be like a Southern thing that would just come out, and like, I'd be like, do I need this kind of cannellini bean, or do I need and I would just sort of
garbanzo. I think you need a garbanzo bean.
A garbanzo,
Sure.
could be. And then I'd be like, wait, maybe it should be a little more like Savannah, Georgia, and it would just go
Oh.
into there. And
I
then I
think-
would be like, oh, maybe my Australian's gonna come out and like something like I love NCISLA. I miss Eric and Neil so much this year. I'm so happy to see Barrett on 6th.
All
So
right.
I'm donating again. Cheryl from Pennsylvania, $30. Thank you so much.
That is very good.
It's also, it's very good to American ears, and people who are from Australia want to claw their eyes out when they hear that. They're like, you sound like a deranged Kiwi.
Yeah, whatever. They can suck it up. Cheryl actually gave $2. David wanted to add that, and then
Oh, thank you.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yay. That's that. All right. So wait. So accents, puppetry,
Accents,
anything else? I need to-
Puppetry. I am,
You don't have to. Just
like, what do you need?
well. Are there any other special?
No, but
skills
I
every-
mean, like producers, like, what do you need?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what do you want?
I
Like,
suppose. Well, like there's that story of like the actor who like shows up and they say, "Do you play guitar?" And the actor's like, "Of course I do," and of course they don't. But then you just learn it. It's like, yeah, we'll learn it. Like teach it to us. So, is there anything else other than puppetry that you've had to like learn for a show?
I think like the first time, well, for Angels in America, which I did a couple years ago,
Uh-huh.
I had to do drag. And that wasn't a skill, but it was like an embodiment of myself that I have never put forth in public. That
Mhm.
was like so like, and also like there was a scene change that we sort of had to cover, and they were like, now you will be with this fan, like in quick drag, like it was like
Yeah.
these two women were like 5 minutes of
Right.
drag, and it's a fantasy sequence, and suddenly this guy who's like dying of AIDS, wasting away, like lesions all over his body, is suddenly the most fabulous like
Yeah.
fantasy of himself. And
Yeah.
it did feel like a special skill that I had to like
Yeah.
tap into, and I have never felt more like powerful and I don't want to say masculine, because like that implies
That
a
masculine
million
is
other things.
right.
Yeah, that's powerful. It's
Yeah.
like it was like it was a special skill. Very cool.
Yeah, a skill, and even in art, really, even. But walking in the heels alone is a skill.
Oh, for sure.
So that I don't possess and refuse to do anymore. But yeah, I do
I'm flats
absolutely
only.
that it.
Flats only Larsen.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's in all my contracts.
Anika. Sorry. I got like, we've known each other for so long.
I know. Wait, so I have to back it up. So
Yeah.
you were one of the very first actors. So of course the original cast of Avenue Q, everyone was who was a puppeteer was an actual puppeteer first, and most of them came from Sesame Street.
Sesame Street.
And so they all got theirs, and then they started to run out of puppeteers who wanted to be, or even could be, the kind of performer who could be on Broadway. So they needed to start hiring actors and teaching them puppetry. And you were one of the very first people who got to do that.
The first. So I was what Jen Barnhart from the show, amazing puppeteer.
Yes. Second-hander.
She the second-hander track. She was like, you were the guinea pig. You were the grand experiment. And I was like, I don't think I knew that at the time, and I sort of am glad I didn't.
Yeah.
But because they had started in workshops, and then they went to the Vineyard Theater off Broadway, they didn't need understudies then. Like in the contract, you don't need understudies. And then when it was Broadway, they started to need understudies, and they started realizing, oh, this thing is going to run.
Yeah.
And sometimes the leads are going to be needed to be like pulled away, and we need really good people to understudy and to like to take over eventually.
Yeah.
And then we won the Tony, 3 Tonys. And so it was like, oh, this thing is going to run. It ran for like 5 years on Broadway, and then more.
Oh, look at
Hi, baby Barrett. Baby Barrett wants to remind you that he's back on Avenue Q. What?
How many puppeteers on Sesame Street are that young? Like to be the actual type to be a Princeton, other than Johnny Tartaglia, like who else was there? So they had to find a you.
I mean, they were like, the entire puppeteer community in New York City was 26 people strong. I don't know, like how many people are there? And they're all like, I'm making bank on Sesame Street, or I'm already in Avenue Q, or, it was like, there were just so many people. So they were like, we need to look at actors, and we need to who perform, sing, act, dance, and then teach them puppetry.
Yeah.
Now, of course, that was sort of a little bit of like, to the people who were puppeteers for 15 years of their lives, of like, oh, I'm sorry, you're just going to come in and do this thing that I've been doing forever. And I'm like, I was hired to do it. So let's be on stage together and cross our fingers. and so they were like, we don't know if you can puppeteer. Okay, let me back up one more time. I get a call from my agent being like, you have an audition for Avenue Q. And I'm like, how? So I love that show, and I love the role that John Tartaglia guy plays. I saw it a couple months ago. God, he was so fantastic. I would love to sing all those songs. I don't know how to do that thing he's doing, that brilliant thing that he's doing. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Like, they know. They're just starting to see people, and they just need to start. They're starting this process, right? So I come in, I sing a song. They're like, great. Now put this puppet on your hand, something similar to this guy. And they're like, just do your song as best you can with the puppet, and like lip sync with the puppet. And I guess that
oh, come on.
Gosh. Baby Barrett. Oh my gosh.
I guess you did well enough.
So I think I did like Love I Hear or something. So I was like, Love I Hear makes you sigh a lot. And all I wanted to know was if I could sync this up to this.
Yes. But I can tell you already, I bet you didn't do it like that, because you were pushing like this, and people who don't go to puppetry boot camp go like this when they do a puppet. And if you do that, then your puppet goes like this, because the eyes are here and you're going like that. So already you can't forget what you know now, and you were pushing so beautifully, and that's what makes a puppet look like a good puppet on Sesame Street or Avenue Q. But anyways, continue.
Thank you. Yes, I probably was that. But the sync was like decent enough where they were like, okay, come back.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and I think I'm good at this. And then I eventually remember being like, I'm using a sock at home, because in between each audition, I was like using a sock. I didn't know what the frick I was doing, or my hand, and you can't really tell like what the subtleties are. And as we're going around, they're giving me more scenes and more things to do. And they were like, take the puppet that we have, like the audition puppet. They're like, because I think they were like, we think that you're the guy. I had an extra time with the puppet. I don't think I've ever.
Again, you got an illicit puppet.
I keep getting sneaking me puppets. But then the last thing was, you're gonna get to go to puppet camp, and I'm like, what's puppet camp? And they're like, we don't actually know. We've never done puppet camp. I was one of the two campers in the first puppet camp. Rick Lyon was our instructor. It was me and another guy, and in Chelsea Studios or whatever, and we were in mirrors, and all the puppets were there, and he was just giving us the 101 basics.
Yeah.
And he didn't even have his curriculum down, probably to what it eventually became, because we were just the first ones. So we learned
the pushing. And
what do we do? You want to take over, because you're.
Well, I'll lead we're going to do a real quick boot camp, but I just want to say, because this is my favorite story about you and Avenue Q, which is so I was, many years later, I actually closed the Broadway run and opened the off-Broadway run. So it was many years later, and so they had boot camp down by the time I got to it. But I remember bumping into you on the street, and you had heard that I was in rehearsals, that I had booked it, and so I was in rehearsals, and I had 2 weeks to rehearse to join the national tour that was already going. And that's 2 weeks to that's not enough to learn just a regular role. Never mind like the lyrics, the music, the blocking, the choreography, and then add on like an entire special skill on top of that. And
like
it's
an
just
entire art.
Yeah.
It's not like a special. It's like an entire, like people make an entire living out of that.
That's all they
And
do.
they're like, please do that right now in addition to this role. Yes.
Yeah. In 2 weeks. And so, but I was ecstatic because I loved the show for years. And so I bumped into you and you said, have you cried yet? And I said, no, it's puppetry. It's fun. I haven't cried yet. I'm not going to cry. What are you talking about? Crying? And he goes, you went, oh, everybody cries. And I was like, all right, Barrett. Cut to a week later, my put-in rehearsal in Fort Worth, Texas, and I'm crying. I'm not going to I have to be on tonight, and I'm just, And then I remembered I don't know anyone in Fort Worth, Texas. So no matter who saw it, and again, like I was saying with James before, it was not going to be filmed. It's gone from anyone's memory who was there. The freedom in that. But yeah, it's a lot. All right. So yes. So boot camp. So we're going to do red. Okay. So first of all, the first thing they teach you, and if you had a mirror, becomes a mirror, but like you need to be facing into a mirror. But so you do it on your hand for like way too long. You're looking over at the puppets and you're aching to hold a puppet and they're like, nope, still your hand. And you're like, oh, that's less fun. But posture. So like, you don't want a puppet that's like leaning. First of all, your own posture, because for 2.5 hours to be holding a puppet, if you get into bad habits with your own posture, that's why people got massages in their contracts and there was PT backstage, is because it's not an ordinary normal thing to do with your body, is hold a puppet like this. But then,
bigger in this arm.
Oh God. And that little guy, that little muscle right there. Oh, man, that just,
I'm going to do this guy while you do this guy so they
perfect.
can sort of
That's a great idea. Yes. Perfect. Okay. So I'm just making sure that your posture of your puppet is, because once you step away from the mirror, you can't see. So you can't rely on that. You have to feel what straight up and down is. So you don't have a puppet who's slouching to the side or falling over to the other side, sort of leaning into you. So that, and then also making sure they were often like, you have to make sure there's this sort of balance between the two of you. That's sort of the beauty of Avenue Q style puppetry, is it's not this. It's the two of us are one entity, right? And so we are one thing. And so it's never like I'm the star and I'm going to sing my song right now. And it's never I'm going to hide behind my puppet. It's we are one thing. And so people's eyes, I think at the beginning of the show, people often feel like, who do I look at, the person or the puppet? And they always ask like, am I doing it right? And then at a certain point in the show, you just forget and you're sort of fusing the two. And that's sort of the beauty of it. Because, their faces are static and there's only so much that we can do with emoting for them. And so we're helping with our own faces to give nuance that you can almost sort of imagine is projected onto their faces.
And sometimes people are like, there must be some like eyebrow thing or mouth thing that you're manipulating. And I'm like, it's open and closed.
That's it.
Your mind really does like start putting in more emotions into them, and they get very dynamic very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So of course there's just the basics of yes, easy. No, you start with that. Another important thing with Avenue Q is that if you're saying no, the puppet is saying no. And if you're nodding, the puppet is nodding. And wherever you're looking, the puppet is looking. So we always work on focus. Yes, absolutely. And then maybe is my favorite. Yeah, maybe is my favorite word. So it's just a little, yep. I love it.
To watch it while I'm doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then they talk so much about the importance of the puppet breathing. And that's just sort of a pull back. But before they start to speak or before they say something that's really important. So the breathing is important to sort of infuse them with life. All right. And so then we're gonna mouth. And so let's just count to 10. And think about, this is one of the times where you like start to maybe want to cry. Yes. Is everyone practicing this now? I hope you are. You'll be graded on it later. All right. So hands up, everyone.
Don't judge me from this guy. Okay.
Yes. So we're going to count to 10. This is one of the tricky things, which is you have to think about how the word ends. Does it end with your mouth closed or does it end without your mouth open? So 1 ends closed, but 2 ends open. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 syllables ending closed, 8, 9, 10. So the difference, like there's a fine line between love and a waste of time. That's when you start to want to cry a little bit of like, wait, I have to think about that too. I don't just have to have it match my voice.
But there's some controversy in there.
Is there? Bring it.
Yes, because
Controversy on Stars in the House.
And with puppetry, like Rick Lyon, who was like the puppetry king, right? Who designed all the puppets, again, built them all. He would be like, he might be like, there's a fine, fine line. Like he would be like line.
Huh.
Like none.
Interesting.
And like he would do these extra like gorgeous organic like lip flaps where I'd be like, am I supposed to be doing that? I don't do that. There's so many things.
I can't do that.
I can't do that. And he was so gorgeous and subtle at it that it just like, it sort of became like a nice little other flutter. And I was like, what are the rules? There are no rules. And they're like, here's the thing. What emotion are you trying to portray? And we've talked about this, Anika. We talk about this in very similar ways, Anika. It's really like, I love when you articulate it. Because it's like you're speaking from my heart. They're like, please, like, what is the emotion? And then how can you act that emotion through your hand? And that feels weird when you don't have something on it. But when you have something like that is there and you're like, how would I be a little bit forlorn or sad?
Mm-hmm.
Barrett would sort of be like, like, what's the extreme physicality of that?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, So then therefore this little guy goes,
yeah,
and like maybe to the side a little bit,
yeah,
and he gets a little, but then he's what? And then again, breath and movement towards it,
right? Because even the sad was a sigh, right?
There's a lot of breath in it. And it's that, and then suddenly it sort of gets like you're really emoting and flowing through this thing that's your hand, and you're sort of thinking of the lines, but you're also thinking of the emotion, and then how do you put emotion in here? It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I used to say that. I said, because by the time I did Avenue Q, I had like finally gotten to the place in my career where I felt true confidence that I was a performer, that I knew how to sell a song, that I knew how to land a joke, that I knew how to move people. And now I had to do that with my right arm. And but the ways that you had to think about distilling the essence of a feeling into, it's true, because you're painting with broad colors with a puppet. And sad really for the most part is down, and happy really is like, you can only open their mouth. Like happy and then surprise are just slightly different, and a breath. But yeah, it really is. It's such a fascinating and lovely art. But yeah, so for everybody, let's have everybody, you go, but I want everybody arms up. And we're just going to do sad. And happy is often just nodding too helps. Like whenever puppets are happy with each other, like they always finish a number on the Muppets or on Sesame Street, and they turn to each other and they're like, yeah, we nailed it. Yeah. Yeah. And then surprised is just like yeah, and you can clutch your pearls too if you have a puppet with it. Yes, exactly. And then one of the hard ones is angry. I felt like angry sometimes, if like Kermit has a little face that can look a little like that, but some of them don't. Like these puppets kind of can't do that. I feel like anger has to be like the context, and then it's our face that's informing really the anger of it. And then another
just like a little shaking for anger too.
Yeah,
Rod, because Princeton doesn't really get angry that much, but Rod is very frustrated.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Amazing. And then also, I think something interesting about puppets is when they're still for too long, they start to lose their life, right? And it's that you have to keep them in motion. So even when they're
yeah, exactly. That's what happens. You have to sort of,
even when they're listening, I found it often with Kate Monster, because she does a lot of listening. I just sort of cock her head a little bit or nod. Or I'm so sorry that that's happening to you. But just every once in a while felt the need to have a little bit of, not trying to upstage the person I was in the scene with, just a little motion to them to keep them alive, because they don't have faces alive like ours are alive.
Yeah. What's that?
That's exactly.
Like the ear. I love that.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so sweet.
It was so fun.
But the last thing I want to say is that people who don't be discouraged, because I know people who have 3 left feet that cannot do a front side, backside grapevine step, who are the most beautiful, gorgeous puppeteers. Conversely, I also know people who can do triple pirouettes perfectly and cannot link this up to this. And it's like, hello, Anika, how are you doing today? And you're like, nope, you don't have that puppet gene. You are coordinated and a beautiful dancer, but this doesn't link. It's very interesting. It's like a gene. It's like a thing you either have or don't.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Don't be discouraged.
Don't be discouraged. Everyone out there, pick up a puppet and give it a shot. Yeah. Barrett, thank you for coming out and playing with me.
So much fun. Always. So great to see you.
Have
Thanks,
a great
Stars in the House.
Yay, Stars in the House.
Thank you.
All right, Barrett, good night. And I think that's it, David, right? There's nothing else to say. We did it. We talked about special skills. Thank you guys for donating. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being tireless supporters of Seth and James and Stars in the House and the Actors Fund. And I'll see y'all around the next time. Good night.